Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining Building and Fire Board of Appeals meeting. May I have the roll call, please?
Yes, Board Member Delilah Lenoir.
Here.
Board Member Michael Chokmajian.
Here.
Board Member John Tatulian.
Here.
Board Member Stephen Lee.
Here.
Chairman Kishishian.
Here. Thank you.
Going on to item number 2, report regarding posting of agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on Tuesday, April 12, 2016 on the bulletin board outside City Hall and on the city's website. Going on to item 3, presentations and commendations. The introduction. I'm sorry, I spoke on your behalf.
Okay, that's all right. Well, at this point, we'd like to announce our new board member, Ms. Lenoir. Welcome to the board, and would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Well,
Introduce yourself.
thank you.
You
Thank
are.
you for the welcome, and I am glad to be here, and I'm sure that we'll all get along very well. And glad to be working on behalf of the city.
Thank
and
you.
its citizens. Thank
And
you.
welcome to the board.
Going on to item number 4, approval of minutes dated November 18th, 2015.
I'll motion to accept.
Second the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Board, roll call. Did you want to call a roll call?
Yes, roll call, please.
Board Member Delilah Lenoir.
Here.
Board Member John Tatulian.
Yes.
Board Member Stephen Lee.
Yes.
Board Member Michael Chokmajian.
Yes.
Chairman Kishishian.
Yes.
Going on to oral communications, today we have none. Going on to item number 6 of old business, today we have none. Going on to item 7, new business, today we have none. Going on to item 8, reports of information only.
I'll start off with item A, the building activity report and monthly income summary for the third quarter of fiscal year 15-16. Just wanted to update everyone. The last years, our income has increased significantly over past years. And if you look at the 2 right columns, the current year to date and previous year to date of the monthly income summary page, you will see that currently we are just slightly more on the income, both at the subtotal of column A and at the very bottom, the total. We're just slightly ahead of where we were this time last year. So we may be hitting to where we're finally have reached a peak in terms of our income, and maybe tapering off, or maybe hitting a plateau. The last 5 years, we've had a significant increase in our income each year due to the increase construction activity. If you switch to the building activity report, if you look at the right 2 columns, the year-to-date and the previous year-to-date, about 3/4 of the way down the page, we have our totals. You can see in terms of valuation, we are significantly below where we were this time last year. Also, if you look at the left 2 columns under the valuation header, if you look at our year-to-date for our total number of permits, we're significantly higher than we were this time last year. That is an indication that our mega projects have tapered off, and what we are seeing more of is our mid-sized apartment buildings, the 70 to 100 unit, instead of the 200 to 300 unit apartment buildings. We're also seeing a significant increase in the smaller valuation single-family dwelling additions and smaller tenant improvements. So we're seeing overall a boost in the economy, where now the smaller size, the smaller groups, the smaller tenants are able to afford making the updates that they've had to put off for the last 5 years or last 8 years due to the economy. So these seem to be good indications that the economy overall is fairly healthy and is continuing to be healthy. Like I said, we've got a significant increase in our total number of permits that we've issued year to date, fiscal year to date this year over last year. So we're doing very well overall. We've had some increases in our staffing, mostly with hourly staff, in order to keep up with this additional workload. And that concludes my report on the activity and income. Do either any of you have any questions about this? No? If not, then we will go ahead and move on to the Building Safety Month report. At this time, I'd like to bring Jan Bear, our Deputy Building Official, to the podium.
Afternoon, Chairman, board members.
Good
Welcome
afternoon.
Thank you. Thank
to the
you.
board. Nice seeing all of you. First item, we're going to talk about Building and Safety Month. For the last 39 years in this country, we've tried to celebrate Building and Safety Month in May. And so May is coming up, and so we're putting together a nice program of trying to engage the community. So this year, the monthly theme or the weekly themes will be building solutions for all ages, the science behind the codes, learn from the past, build for tomorrow, and building codes a smart investment. And the next topic I'll bring up will highlight the building codes for investment, because you will be involved in our review of our code amendments. The events will kick off actually this Saturday, April 30th. Building and Safety is participating in the city's Earth Day festivities at Central Park. So we'll be there because the building codes do involve a lot of Earth Day things, with the energy codes, with the green building codes, with the low-flow toilets and energy conservation. So we're going to participate in that. We'll have staff out there then. On May 3rd, we will go to the City Council, get a proclamation for Building and Safety Month. We have already had a proclamation that you could actually review on ICC's website, signed by our building official. And so we're going all in with Building and Safety Month. We have, coming up on May 17th, we have a county presentation for lead safety in our community. We're still setting the times for this to make sure it's available to everybody. May 24th, we will be hosting an accessibility workshop by Sandra Mills, who's an expert with CASI, which is the California Access Specialist Institute. She's coming down. She'll be presenting 2 different workshops, one for business owners and one for city staff. So we're going to kind of split it up and use her expertise as much as we can. In October, although it's not May, we're planning a lot of trainings. We're going to actually be hosting training classes for residential and commercial energy. The new code is coming out January 1st, including the energy provisions. We're going to have training for anyone in the community who wants to go. We'll be hosting it so that we're all fully knowledgeable before they become effective. Some of the ones that we haven't actually set a time for yet, Caruso affiliate did a very nice renovation of the Masonic Temple, and so they're looking to provide a open discussion of what they did. Same thing, the Disney company improved the airport, the old airport, and they're going to give a presentation on all the project involved. We're also working with Simpson. They have some structural seminars for the earthquake retrofit. LA City passed an earthquake retrofit ordinance, and they have a lot of standard hardware and frames that can be used. They have a workshop. We're looking at hosting it in our city to keep our local engineers informed without having to drive all the way out there. We're working with the Glendale Chamber of Commerce so that we'll have a meeting there so that we could become more collaborative with the Chamber of Commerce. Hasn't been set yet. We're in discussions of when the actual meeting will happen. So we're very active with Building and Safety Month, and If you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me. We do have it on the website, and so our calendar will be updated on the website. So if anyone wants to know what's going on, keep informed with our webpage for Building and Safety Month.
And that's on the City of Glendale website?
Yes.
The main website.
Go to Building and Safety, and
Building.
it'll be clear that there's a Building and Safety Month website. So as dates get set and more information is provided, we'll provide it on the website as well as through flyers and what contact we can. Any other questions?
So I'm sure this has been, this is not the first time. Of course, every year you do this, right?
Yes.
So who shows up to this event?
Last year we had two big events. The first one was, again, an attorney came and spoke about to business owners about upgrading their sites and some of the liability they
I'm
have.
sorry, from the public side. I mean, who do you expect to see there?
Each one is different. Each one we have a different focus audience. I think some of May is also Historic Preservation Month, so I'm sure we will get a lot of the historic preservation coming to the two retrofit seminars. On the lead, we're looking at the community in general, because lead safety is more than just the water problems that they had in Flint. You have some of the old paints, some of the old materials, and it gets into the soil, and it still gets into the children's system, which is really damaging, as we've learned from Flint. So that's one of the reasons we kind of chose lead safety. The accessibility workshop, again, is going to be broken down into, we're going to have 1 2-hour session for business owners. The expert that we have coming is Sandra Mills, who's actually works for Cassie, or does a lot of their presentations. And so she's going to come out, and she has one just set up, so why businesses should invest in accessibility. And she has some very personal stories, because as her family is aged, her husband now is in a wheelchair, and so a lot of the things like favorite businesses and restaurants that she used to be able to go to, they can't go to anymore. And so she's trying to get the impact of not trying to increase your accessibility out there. So we have a good part for businesses, and then another one in the afternoon. We're going to have it more for our staff, why we need to constantly use issuance of a permit to improve accessibility. Obviously, the structural workshop is going to be for the engineers that are into the structural aspects of it. And so we have a little bit of everything. The training for the energy code is really geared toward inspectors, plan checkers, designers, anyone that's going to use the new code. That's what it's designed for. So we have a good...
Very good.
And we're... This is... I say this is proposed events. I think if... The position we're taking is anytime we have an opportunity to provide training, we're going to try to do it not just for staff, but for the public and for all our local engineers, architects, contractors, anyone. We're going to open it up to them. So.
Well, that's great. I certainly hope people will take advantage of it, because it's a very valuable information that you provide. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Yamber, not related to this way. You mentioned something about earthquake retrofit other cities. Is this, can I ask you whether City of Glendale is, or would you know if City of Glendale is thinking about it or is looking?
Well, I don't know if you didn't go to SEOX.
Not the Los Angeles one.
Yeah. They had a real nice presentation about why LA is pushing for it so significantly right now. The numbers that they have as far as residents that live in these buildings that are susceptible is enormous. When they looked at, the fact of losing housing for 20,000, 30,000 people, they could not wait. We do not have the numbers of buildings that fall into that they do. And so, although we've always encouraged retrofit and have the information available, we haven't been pushing for an ordinance. It's just, when they looked at their economics of it and having that many homeless people after an event, not just for the economic impacts that they had, would be well beyond anything that they could tolerate, where they'd expect to economically recover quickly. And so they're still working out the expense part, you know, how much of the cost is going to be passed on to the tenants and things like that. But the magnitude of that is just different for them than what we have here. So that's why we're not rushing the way that they are, and it also gives us a chance to look at what are their successes, what are their failures. San Francisco had an ordinance that was similar, and so LA learned from what San Francisco did. We'll learn from what LA did. By delaying just a little, we also have the benefit of the industry has the knowledge, and they could come in and work faster. So there is a plan, but it's not to rush into it.
So you don't see any urgency for the ordinance at this point?
Not right now, no.
Okay, thank you.
And since
Moving on to item C, code adoption. I will go ahead and have Jan provide us with an update there as well.
yeah, as you may or may not be aware, every 3 years the state of California goes through a whole code adoption process. They want the codes, the technical codes, to be uniform throughout the state. It's good for business, it's good for the communities, and it kind of standardizes everything. This is the year that we start. The model code, which is published by ICC, International Code Council, was published January of this year.
This year, 2016.
2016. The state has gone through their adoption process, and no, actually it was 15.
Right.
May 15.
Right.
The state went through all of their amendments, state fire marshal, housing authority, state architect. They publish coming up, they actually passed their ordinance or passed their laws just around January. They will publish the California codes coming up on, supposed to be July 1st. From July 1st, the city has 6 months to adopt any amendments that we want. They have to be based on geography, geology, and climate. But we'll probably just stay with our current range of amendments. We're not looking at anything major, maybe a few adjustments. To do that, we're going to promote what the changes are. We have to evaluate them. We have to get it from what is published. We have to evaluate the changes they made, evaluate the changes the city made, look at our proposed amendments, publish them, bring them to you. You will actually be heavily involved in this because somewhere in September of this year, you will have a first reading of all our code amendments. We'll bring them to you. We will get the word out there through your introduction of the ordinance. You will then have an opportunity to have a final reading of it in October before we pass our ordinance to the council. So again, we're going to include this as part of Building and Safety Month because one of the themes is codes are good for your community, and this is a good chance to publicize and get out what building and safety does through the adoption of the code. So that's where we're at with the codes. We're going to get it done. It will be approved, and we will start enforcing our new codes come January 17th, or January 2017. And we want everyone to know it now. And hopefully we'll use our board to publicize that effort every chance we can. Any questions?
Well, I have to say the city of Glendale is always ahead of the game. That's because we have the experts sitting right here in our room. So maybe you can say a few words. We had an excellent presentation from Stuart Tom, who's currently the city of Glendale fire marshal and previously for a number of years the building official. So he gave us an excellent presentation a couple of weeks ago at the ICC LA Basin chapter. And I'm pretty sure you guys already have everything figured out. You have City of Glendale's amendments written, ready to go, right, Stuart?
In the history of it is, the regional, we started participating in the LARUCP,
LARUCP, the
Yeah,
LA Regional
LARUCP.
Uniform Code Program.
And so you know, we have a few unique amendments in Glendale, but for the most part, we try to be very consistent. Consistency amongst the different communities and jurisdictions leads to easier code compliance. It's
Absolutely.
always harder to explain a unique code amendment than it is to know that you're enforcing the same thing that Burbank or Pasadena or LA is. So we're trying not to overreach, and I know that you can appreciate that.
Absolutely, we're all for it, and that's exactly what we say in my own jurisdiction. Also, we want to be consistent with the neighboring cities because we always work with the same people, same professionals. I'm not going to go too far. Let's just say within LA County. At least things within LA County should be the same. And that's great to hear that Glendale is doing the same thing. Thank you.
Proceeding to item number 9. Okay with you?
Have nothing else on the agenda? All right. Well, I guess there's a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Yes.
my name is Philip Lanzafame. I'm the Director of Community Development. I know some of you on the board because I've been around the city for 20 years and the organization for 20 years. But I thought this was a good opportunity to come and introduce myself as long as we're introducing new members. And I wanted to come introduce myself to the board just so you could put a face to the name. You know the staff, and they'll continue to work with you and be your point of contact. But again, I wanted a name with a face and know that you can contact me anytime if you need something.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here. Well, just so you know, we know you, and we. Thank you.
But since you're here,
There you go.
Oh, look at the time.
Show Canyon Verizon Tower, how's that coming along? I need that.
I don't know. I'll have to go check. Honestly, I'll have to go and check.
It's in the Chevy Chase, the hills up there. There's no Verizon service. You pass by my house, you'd be the only one that can get some service. I complained so much, they sent me basically, I'm a mini tower right by my house. Other than that, there's no Verizon service up there.
I'll check with the staff that's working on it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Thank you. And this meeting is adjourned.